Previously, Jiwoo ended up following Woo-in to his hideout, but he stumbled upon Delane, who realized that Jiwoo was the one who stole the cat from him. He ruthlessly beat the living hell out of Jiwoo, and when Woo-in tried to protect him, Delane attacked him too. At the end, the great Kaden daddy came to rescue his cinnamon roll. Later, Inhyuk from the Shinhwa Association came to meet Jiwoo. Kaden recalls Jiyoung being a famous high-ranked wind ability user, but he never expected her to live so close. Inhyuk shows off his prowess over wind energy, saying that he could use it to his advantage in almost any situation. Jiwoo was mesmerized seeing his powers. I mean, who wouldn't be? So, he abruptly reveals that his power is super speed, and both Inhyuk and Kaden think of him as a fool for revealing his abilities. Judging by his naive nature, Inhyuk could tell that he recently learned about his awakened abilities, as the awakened ones try hard to hide their abilities. But Jiwoo is a simple dude, and since Inhyuk revealed his ability, he thought that he should do it as well. The kid's got manners, all right. However, Inhyuk's ability was quite well known, and he merely showed him a sample of his true power, which was over 9,000. But for someone like Jiwoo, who had a simple ability of a flash from wish.com, it would be better if he would keep it hidden from others, since it would be less impressive if it were to be revealed. Jiwoo thinks maybe that was the reason he couldn't beat Woo-in in battle. Inhyuk suggests Jiwoo to keep his ability hidden all the time, unless he really has to reveal it. Jiwoo thanked him, and before Inhyuk left, he told Jiwoo that he would contact him soon, as this meeting's objective for him was to only introduce himself. Jiwoo wonders why Inhyuk wants to help him, so he tells him that it is the responsibility of territory leaders to teach the basics to new awakened ones. He's actually a good guy. When awakened ones realize their potential, it increases the risk that they would cause a scene and reveal the existence of the awakened ones to the world. So Inhyuk's organization, Shinhwa, doesn't want that to happen in their area. They also don't want new awakened ones to travel down the wrong path. He then says his goodbyes again, and Kaden gives him a death glare. Dominance shall be established everywhere. Jiwoo then asks what they should do, and Kaden replies to the doofus that he has to live his life as an awakened one now. He didn't want Jiwoo's soft ass to live as an awakened one, but there was no helping it now, as it happened because of his own carelessness. Kaden now knew that the district belonged to Jiyoung, and since Jiwoo was clueless about her, he told him that she was a top-ranked Korean. The territories of Korea were divided among highest-ranked awakened ones, and this one belonged to Jiyoung. Jiwoo was lucky, as if the district belonged to shady people. They would trick a newbie like him to go down the wrong path. Kaden then tells him that he couldn't afford to be a mama's boy anymore, and needed to get stronger so he could protect himself. Since his leg was broken, he advised Jiwoo to practice controlling his powers as he taught him, and his enthusiastic reply made Kaden think that he might be the biggest clueless doofus in the history of all manhwas. At Shinhwa's headquarters, Inhyuk reported to Jiyoung that Jiwoo didn't seem to be involved with the case and just happened to meet Woo-in by chance since he transferred to his school. They were both glad that the union doesn't know about him as of now, as they tend to be reckless with dealing with this kind of stuff. Jiwoo managed to charm Inhyuk as well. I mean, he charmed me too, and I'm straighter than a pole my friend's mother dances on. The following morning, the cats munched their food, as Kaden looked over his puny subordinates, and Jiwoo went to school. Kaden warns the cats to control their appetite, unless they want to become a fat ass like him. Given how cute Kaden is, it might be for the best. Walking to school with his broken leg, Jiwoo wondered what happened to Woo-in and hoped that he was all right. Jisuk's bully friends saw Jiwoo walking to school, and they followed him to his class to pick a fight with him. How degenerate can someone be to pick a fight with someone 3 versus 1, and that too when his leg is broken? Jiwoo asks them who they are, and it made the bullies feel that he was looking down on them. He suddenly remembers that they tried to bully Woo-in, and one of them kicked Jiwoo to the floor. Jiwoo moaned in pain. In pain, guys, don't let your minds wander elsewhere. And the guy told him that there was plenty more where that came from. They tried to kick him again, and Jiwoo was yeeted away. He would normally dodge them easily, but couldn't since his leg was broken. His classmates just looked while he was getting bullied. All of them need to grow a pair. Yes, even the girls. Jiwoo remembers people neglecting him in the past the same way. The bully then grabs his collar, but as he was about to punch him, Jiwoo dodges and says, "Psych, bitch." The guy gets angry and kicks his injured leg. Jiwoo falls on the floor and the guy kicks his face next. The three keep beating him to a pulp, and Jiwoo just silently let himself get clobbered until they talk about beating Woo-in next. Jiwoo remembers Woo-in risking his life to protect him. He rises up, and the bullies think that he's ready for round 2. They don't know they are locked in there with him. As one of them is about to hit him, Jiwoo punches his guts. Woo-in is the only person who ever defended him, so Jiwoo can't let the bullies bother him. Need be a friend like Jiwoo for real. They are so weak that he doesn't even have to use his powers. He punches the second guy in his face and yeets him away. The last guy tries to retaliate, but Jiwoo punches his face as well. When the teacher walks in all angry, he sees the bullies beaten to a pulp. He can't believe that a femboy like Jiwoo knocked all of them down. He asks a student to take Jiwoo to the nurse, but Jiwoo says he was fine and can go by himself. He sees Kaden praising him from the other side of a window and smiles. He asks the teacher for an early leave so he can get his leg checked out by a doctor. The teacher thinks that he must be in a lot of pain and offers to take him, but Jiwoo denies, saying that he was fine enough to walk. The teacher then asks someone to take the bullies to the nurse. Jiwoo actually wants to go with Kaden since he came all the way to the school and asks why he's there. Kaden just wants to breathe in fresh air and thought of checking on him considering what happened to him recently. He scolds Jiwoo for getting into a fight again, and Jiwoo apologizes. Living with him, Kaden can tell that Jiwoo must have avoided confrontation with anyone even though his awakened powers gave him a huge advantage. Jiwoo even went as far as to not make any friends too, as he was afraid that people would find out about his powers. He is afraid of his powers, but Kaden tells him that he doesn't need to be afraid anymore, as the daddy, yes, I'm talking about Kaden, is there to protect him. Kaden consoles him, saying that his powers don't make him a weirdo. He is weird even without them. He then tells Jiwoo that he should be proud of his powers and embrace them instead of being afraid of them, as the great Riz Lord Kaden would deal with anyone who would try to take him down. Jiwoo gives him the most beautiful and assuring smile in the world. Kaden then asks him to get more snacks. If I was that fat, I'd get hungry a lot as well. Jiwoo then told Kaden that Woo-in hadn't come to school today. Kaden doesn't remember him, so Jiwoo tells him that he is the friend that helped him. He wonders if he is doing okay. Standing by himself, Jisuk checks his phone. He remembers Inhyuk telling him to keep an eye on Jiwoo as they both study in the same school. He asks about his abilities, but Inhyuk can't answer that as it breaks the bro code. He then tells Jisuk that according to the background check that he did, Jiwoo's life is really hard as he didn't know he was an awakened one until recently. His friends then come over to him. They are covered in bruises, so Jisuk asks why they look like mashed potatoes. He asks who did that to them. The bullies remain silent. I would be ashamed to speak too if I lost to a disabled guy 3 versus 1. He then questions them again, and the bullies finally tell him that it was Jiwoo. Jisuk doesn't remember him, so the bullies remind him that he's the kid who was feeding the stray cats. Jisuk had warned them not to mess with him, but the bullies hated the air that Jiwoo breathed in and couldn't control their nerves. They lie, saying that they warned Jiwoo to stay out of their way, but he beat them because he caught them off guard. Even my grandma with dementia could come up with a better story. Considering that Jiwoo is an awakened one, Jisuk knows that they didn't stand a chance against him. He gives off an evil grin, as it gives him a reason to mess with Jiwoo. At Jiwoo's home, while Kaden is munching on treats, he tells Jiwoo that he had a serious problem. Jiwoo is shocked thinking about what the problem could be. Maybe his whole existence is a problem. When he was fighting the bullies, everything he did was wrong except for winning the fight. His punches were weak and his arms were heavy. He lost his footing due to bad weight distribution already. Mom's spaghetti. Jiwoo relied solely on his speed, and the only credit Kaden could give him was that he knocked all of them out. Kaden knew that if he fought an awakened one in his current power level, he would receive a thorough beating. Jiwoo realizes what Kaden is trying to tell him. If he was better at controlling his abilities, Wooin might not have gotten hurt, as he wouldn't have had to fight his professor. He asks Kaden how he can achieve a power level of over 9,000. Hearing the meme reference, Kaden can tell that he is serious. He decides to teach Jiwoo how he can improve his powers. So far, he has only taught Jiwoo how to grow and control his abilities, but knows he wants to teach him combat moves. Jiwoo gets excited and says, yes. Kaden orders him to say it with more passion, and more energy. He makes Jiwoo practice his punching on a punching bag and tells him to give it all he's got. Kaden knows that most awakened ones only think of working to grow their powers and abilities, hoping that their physical abilities would improve as time would pass. But Kaden thinks that it is better to achieve a balance between physical and awakened abilities. He doesn't want Jiwoo to only be satisfied with his awakened powers, so he can train himself physically as well. His awakened ability is a physical one, so it's important that he strengthen his body. Since he is very fast, learning even the basic combat skills could help him a lot. When he hits the punching bag, he starts to slouch, but Kaden tells him that his opponent would see that weakness and use it to their advantage, so he needs to give his best all the time. Even though it is way too early, Kaden decides to tell him a secret method. He tells him to let his awakened energy run through his chest to his arms and use his power to strengthen his punches. He can channel his energy to his fists just before he makes contact to deliver a devastating blow. He doesn't believe that Jiwoo would be able to do it instantly and just wants to motivate him. He doesn't know Jiwoo is a mad lad. Jiwoo instantly incorporates his instructions into his punches and knocks the punching bag away. Kaden's mouth is left open in shock. Jiwoo is happy and asks if that was what Kaden was talking about. Kaden says yes, and Jiwoo's happiness meter hits the roof. He calls Kaden the best teacher ever, and Kaden thinks that Jiwoo was able to do it because he had the perfect teacher. Since he trained the whole night, Jiwoo feels sleepy in class and notices that Wooin is absent again. He takes a nap, and when the teacher walks in, he thinks that he must be traumatized after fighting the bullies. He vows to make the bullies pay if they ever bully him again. Win teacher for real. He decides to let Jiwoo sleep a bit more. Meanwhile, Kaden visits the professor's hideout, but there was not a single trace left behind. He wonders if he ran away with the stuff, or if some people came and hid all the evidence. He then hears some Union guards coming there. He wonders if they are related to Jiyoung, or if they are the ones who cleaned the place up. When the guards see Kaden, he is ready to throw hands, but ultimately decides to act like a normal cat. Before leaving, they wonder how a fat cat like Kaden managed to get here, and Kaden is heartbroken hearing this. While walking to school, Jiwoo checks his leg and wonders how it healed so fast. Dummy forgot he was an awakened one. He stumbles upon the bullies, and Jisuk asks him to come to him for a second. Jiwoo wonders if the bullies want to take their revenge on him. Jisuk asks Jiwoo to go somewhere else with him, as he didn't want to create a scene in front of the school. The bullies smirk in arrogance, but Jisuk orders them to not follow him. Jiwoo follows him into an empty construction site where no one else is present. Jiwoo asks if they really had to fight. Blood thinks he's Thorfinn from Vinland Saga. Jisuk can't let him get away after what he did to his friends. Jiwoo tells him that it was his friends that attacked him first, and they plan to hurt his friend too. Jisuk knows that his rascal friends must have made the first move. He had a reputation to maintain. To be honest, understandable. Jiwoo is left with no choice but to fight. He clenches his fist, and Jisuk tells him to stop yapping and just come at him, as he doesn't plan to attack first and wants Jiwoo to give his best shot. Jiwoo thinks he should end this while his guard is down. He moves at super speed and swings at him, but Jiwoo dodges all of his punches before grabbing his hand mid-punch. He is going to end his whole career. He thinks Jiwoo is taking him lightly. He then punches him in the guts, and Jiwoo starts coughing in pain. Jisuk tells him not to hold back like he did with others. Seeing the confused look on his face, Jisuk clarifies that he wants him to use his awakened abilities. Hearing this, Jiwoo immediately jumps back, and Jisuk tells him that he heard about him from Inhyuk. Jiwoo realizes that Jisuk was talking about the person who came looking for him. Jisuk then tells Jiwoo that he is an awakened one just like him, and is in the same group as Inhyuk. Jiwoo is confused, as Inhyuk wanted to help him, but Jisuk wants to fight him. Jisuk replies that it is necessary to figure out their ranks. Jiwoo didn't know that ranks existed. Jisuk then tells him that it is important to sort out the ranks of a new awakened one. Showing off his powers a bit, he offers to go easy on Jiwoo. Jiwoo realizes that he has the same ability as Inhyuk. Jisuk decides to start the fight and attacks Jiwoo, but he jumps away at super speed, and Jisuk realizes that his awakened ability is speed-related. Before Jiwoo can even recover, Jisuk attacks him again. Jiwoo keeps dodging all his attacks and gathers all the energy from his chest to his fist, like Kaden taught him. He attempts to attack Jisuk from behind, but Jisuk dodges him and counters with a devastating punch to his ribs. That must have hurt. Jiwoo gets yeeted against a truck, and Jisuk tells him that he isn't the only one that can move fast, as he has the wind ability and can use it to move fast. He rushes at Jiwoo, and when he moves back, Jisuk appears behind him and punches him in the face. Jiwoo then sees a punch coming towards his face, but can't dodge it because of his injured leg. Jiwoo stops his punch mid-air and asks Jiwoo if he hurt his leg. Upon confirmation, he tells him that he didn't want to beat someone with an injury. Jisuk is a man of morals. After telling him that they would finish this when his leg heals, he left, and Jiwoo got sad over his own weakness. This is where the video ends. Please like and subscribe. See you next time.